Says going live, says I am live. Let's give it a few moments for people to arrive. I've learned that YouTube will often say 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then I find out later it was like 10 or 12. So I also found that sometimes it'll say 3 or 4, and there's usually like 1 or 0. Anyway, good morning. Let me adjust this just a little bit. So again, I was just saying that I've learned, we'll give it just a moment here. I like to get right in because we've got a lot to cover today. Kabbalah is a profound mystical modality, and it is complicated. And I mean that in a flattering way. Part of the draw towards Kabbalah for many of us mystics is the fact that it is such an intellectual adventure. And so even though it can be very challenging to understand it, and certainly to master it, it stimulates it. It requires that commitment, and that helps you build a relationship with it and makes you love it even more. Anyway, about every 5 videos or so, I also present and begin with telling you a little bit of who I am. This is not an ego trip. I want people that view these things to understand why I'm qualified to present on them. There's so many people out there presenting on mystical things, spiritual things, and everything in the world, even cars or whatever, that don't know what they're talking about. They're not qualified. When you ask them how they know this, they shrug their shoulders and say, I don't know that. And so I think it's important to be able to earn your confidence and your trust. So I was asked when I was about 3, what do you want to be when you grow up, as everybody is? And I said, and I'm not kidding, I didn't even know what it meant. I said, I want to be enlightened. I think I said that more because parents and adults are kind of annoying. They all ask the same questions. And I was just trying to come up with something that would make them stop for a moment. Oh, let me pause for a moment. I have a guest today, potential mystical gangster initiate and currently student, Naomi, is my guest today. And she is the sacred incense keeper today. And so why aren't you doing your job? Do you not see that lighter and that incense sitting right in front of you? There you go. So yeah, it's already in there. Do the best you can. Anyway, she was she lives in the area. She's become a bit of a mystical gangster student. She's kind of new to Spiritual Triangle, and she's in the area, and I invited her to come down and attend live today. And so she did. So again, I encourage everybody to ask questions. So let's get back to this. Again, a little bit about who I am and why I'm qualified to teach these things. Krishnanand's curriculum vitae, master theologian, mystic initiate, master alchemist from Flamel College, tutored by Dennis Hawk, member of the International Alchemy Guild, the IAG, the same society Isaac Newton was a member of, 3rd degree ceremonial magician through the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis. This is just some of the mystical training that I've received. Wait a minute. Why are you doing that? There we go. Also, in 1992, I had a very full-blown Kundalini event. I mean, full-blown, blow your mind, blow the top of your head off, crown chakra. Near-death experience in 2013, went to the other side, was in a coma for 9 days, woke up on my birthday. So many of these things qualify me, I think, to speak on supernatural events because I've had a lifetime of them. I'm proficient in astrology, numerology, sacred geometry, tarot, I Ching, scrying, Kabbalah, Ayurvedics. A student and devotee of Jagadguru Kripalu Maharaj. Again, what I'm sharing with you is that I've spent my lifetime studying these things. A lifetime. Not just Barnes and Noble's copies of books and things that are the pop culture. I've gone to the real deals. I've gotten from the real sources. I've traveled the world to find them. The more you seek and ye shall find. And so the more I sought and the more heart I put into it, the more authentic things that I was able to find and access. So always what I'm sharing with you is the authentic original scriptural texts and teachings from these things, not the new age modernized versions. And people that watch me regularly, you know that how I feel about most of the new age modernized kind of stuff. I'm not too big of a fan. So, but then also in the regular world, the top line is gone. I can't see that. 6-time award-winning author, 4 international releases. I'm working on my 5th, which is a very supernatural book. Certified addiction specialist, certified clinical hypnotherapist, which is very different than any other kind of hypnotherapist, certified life coach, private practice counselor since 2005 to present. I've been in the trenches. I'm mastering human behavior. So again, I'm sharing these things with you so that you know that you're in good hands, that I'm not just some guy that's making stuff up. I've committed my life to be able to get access to the information, the knowledge that I share. And so you don't have to. I've spent a lifetime consuming. I started reading when I was 3. I'm nonstop, whether it's quantum physics or mysticism. So you're in good hands. That what I try to do is present information that keeps you from having to do the same laborious work that I did. And I'm not saying that I regret it, because I definitely don't. But I definitely had to wade through a whole bunch of bad, stupid garbage to get to the good stuff. There's a whole lot of stuff on Kabbalah that no one should ever talk about. I mean, I remember when it became very trendy in the early mid-90s, I think, Madonna. And I no offense, that a lot of people got kind of into Kabbalah and Tree of Life. And they knew the basics, but they never even heard of Israel Regardie. We're going to talk about him in a moment. So let's get into the Kabbalah Tree of Life. Enough about me. This is part 1. There could be a lot of parts to this, because Kabbalah is a deep, rich, complex system of mysticism. It's wonderful. When I say complex, again, I say this in a very flattering way. Many mystical modalities, such as ceremonial magic, such as Hermeticism, I love those too. I'm a 3rd degree, but they're so complicated that basically the people that don't have very powerful, almost advanced intellects can't do them, can't follow them. And many of the initiates that produce the material, Aleister Crowley, Mathers, etc., that produce the materials on these things, do it deliberately, because they like being the smartest guy in the room. I do too. It's fun, but they present it and wrote about these things in such a way that made it impossible for anybody without a very advanced, high intellect to be able to pursue and follow and practice. Kabbalah has that element, but the beauty of it is that as complex as it is, when you understand it, it's actually very simple. So what is the Tree of Life? What is the Tree of Knowledge? We've all heard of Tree of Knowledge, right? In the Bible. Adam and Eve, or Homer and Marge. And the serpent's holding a little donut there. So what is the Tree of Life? What is the Tree of Knowledge? You cannot separate Kabbalah from Tree of Life. You can't. Tree of Life is not a part of it. It is what it is. I don't mean it is what it is like that's just how it is. I'm saying that is what Kabbalah is Tree of Life. Tree of Life is the modality. It is the system that Kabbalah is structured around. As a matter of fact, I am of more than the theory that religions profess that mystical paths came out of them. It's the other way around. Religions came out of the mystical paths. Mystical paths are eternal, and the religions are business. Mysticism is spiritual. Religions are business, and religions came out of the mystical paths. So what is the Tree of Life? What is the Tree of Knowledge? We heard of the Tree of Knowledge in the Bible as Adam and Eve, Homer and Marge, go to eat from that, and then they become aware of their nudity, and then they get sent out from the Garden of Eden. It's all evil and blah, 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 blah. Here's the truth. Tree of Knowledge is the Tree of Life. There is no different. There is no two things. The Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge are not two different things. They're one thing, the Tree of Life. You can call it Tree of Knowledge. You can call it Tree of Life. They're synonyms. So what is the Tree of Life? It represents, this is for you. It represents the process of manifestation of souls. It represents the process of liberation of souls. So I notice I put some souls parenthetically, because it is the process of manifestation, whether it's an idea, a human being, a concept, building a house. Mowing your lawn, I don't care what it is, there's a process, a 10-stage process of what it takes to take an idea from a conceptual point to a manifested tangible point, to make it real. That's the process of manifestation that the tree of life is a formula for. But also, it goes the other way. Process of liberation. So to be able to condense and distill down into the material plane, but also to take matter up to the spiritual plane. We're going to be going into some of that. So what is the tree of life? Well, there it is. Matter of fact, oh, it's upside down. Am I going to get this? I guess I'm kind of into it. I kind of got my own kind of, it's the same image that you see on my screen. Only the little poster I have is really beautiful, and it has pictures of the tarot. So what we have here is basically a template, and you could superimpose this in many ways. It also fits the human form. There are 3 pillars. The right side, the left side, and one down the middle. Right side, left side, down the center with the spine. So this is the tree of life with the 10 Sephiroth. The 10 Sephiroth, you could say, are like the fruits on the tree, like the apple. The fruits on the tree, they represent the different aspects and different stages of manifestation and liberation. So let's get a closer look. So let's look at the top of the tree. Kether, the crown, and then we go off to one side, Bina and Chokmah, and the ghost Sephiroth in the center is Dath. So what we're doing is we're taking from the conceptual divine realm and beginning to manifest. So this is, you could say, God's process of creation. Chokmah for wisdom, understanding, and Bina. These are just words, but they also have deep textures to them and concepts. So we're just getting an overview right now. So as we go down the tree, we started at Kether, the crown, which is also your crown chakra. Many layers here to how to understand it. And as the concept, let's put it in spiritual, godly context. As God conceives to manifest the world or a human soul, then it begins as a concept and begins to manifest going down through the different stages, different branches. And we get to the middle of the tree. Tifereth, beauty in the heart. Chesed, Jebera, Hod, Netzach, victory. You see all these branches and these paths that connect them all. We're going to be going into those. So you can see this is a very complex and rich system. And then we get down to the bottom of the tree, Yeshod, foundation, and down to Malkut, the kingdom. So this is, if we go back from Kether, the crown, to the world. This is the concept to make things manifest in the physical realm. Now, so we have these 10 Sephiroth, the fruits of the tree, and all these paths that connect them, every one of them, this intricate web of paths, and every one of them has a different meaning and has a different purpose, as every path in our own lives does. And every path is represented by a tarot card. You cannot separate tarot from Kabbalah. Tarot didn't come after. Tarot is a pictorial exploration or pictorial representation of Kabbalah. That's what it was created for. So every Sephiroth is represented by a suit, cups, swords, wands, cup, suit, wand. Cups, I'm thinking fire. Cups is water. Swords, air. Earth. No, okay. So anyway, and then every path is one of the major Sephiroth. Is one of the major arcana. There's 22 paths and there's 22 major arcana in tarot. So let's get a closer look at that. So we can see it's kind of blurry because I couldn't find a good image that I could plagiarize and capture illegally and post on here, which I'm not allowed to do. But we can see here that The major arcana connect the path, or the paths. They describe what that path is about. So when we travel a path between Sephiroth, from Sephiroth to Sephiroth, the Kabbalah and the tarot helps us explain this. So we understand what we're there to do and what to get out of it and how to do it. So how did this come about? The most common, familiar deck that we all have, of course, is the Rider-Waite deck. Pamela Coleman Smith is the artist. She's absolutely phenomenal. And A.E. Waite was the mystic that guided her, that directed her on what to do to represent Kabbalah, the D10 Sephiroth, and the 22 paths. He basically explained to her, and she was a mystic too, very well trained. They collaborated together. She's the one that put the images down, but it was through his inspiration, his guidance. And that's how we have the tarot today. So the tarot is a pictorial representation of Kabbalah, nothing less, nothing more. You cannot separate Kabbalah and tarot. I went over this at length a bit in my tarot workshops. Had some challenges on that, and nothing to challenge on it. So the beauty here is that, again, what tarot does is it gives us a very condensed way to be able to build a relationship with the Sephiroth and with the branches. So let's back up a little bit again, and let me expose this a little bit more. So we have this system that represents the process of manifestation and the process of liberation. So that each stage that we journey, that we experience as we go through this process, either one, up or down, this is the human condition. This is what we will experience when we manifest or liberate. This is the process. The liberation and manifestation must endure and experience. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is the process. Kabbalah and tarot represent this process. So when we study the tarot and the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, we're studying the process of manifestation and liberation, not just so we can become more knowledgeable on how the God power works, so that we can do it ourselves, not become gods, but that's a feature. That's many of the goals that people have when they're into Kabbalah and mysticism, is to become godlike or become gods themselves, minor deities, and it is possible. And it's not just so we can manifest things in the material plane like winning the lottery or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter, again, what it is. The point is that when we understand this process, we become spiritized. We become, knowledge is power. I'm always using that axiom. Knowledge is power. So when we understand the system and how it works, then we build a closer, more intimate relationship with the God power. Instead of being abstract and distant, build a relationship. The ultimate goal in all spirituality is to build that relationship, to become one with. That's what mysticism is, to become one with. As the Buddha said, one with everything. I don't want to become one with everything. I want to become one with the God power, the essence of divinity. That's all I want to become one with. The other stuff I can pretty much do without. So the Tree of Life is the essence of Kabbalah, and it represents the process of liberation and manifestation. There's a lot of emphasis on the manifestation. Very little people that speak about Kabbalah are talking about the process of liberation. I put way more emphasis on that. I'm already manifested. I'm already here on the earth plane. I want to get out. I'm trying to become spiritized. So we're going to get into that. So if it's the essence of Kabbalah is the Tree of Life, and here it is, again, represented there. Let's look at another symbol, the Star of David as we know it. And at the moment, the actual name escapes me, but it's not called Star of David. Like the cross, that represents spirit descending into matter. I'm not going to go into the whole Christian thing and the fact that it wasn't crucifixion and it wasn't a cross and blah, blah, blah. We kind of went over some of that in another workshop, and I will again in the future as I gear up to really kind of lay into all that. This is where it first appears, spirit descending into matter. Because we have the downward pointing triangle. It represents manifestation and the element of fire. And the upward pointing triangle, liberation with the element of water. What's fire and water? Steam. What does that do? It rises. So the Star of David represents, as the cross does, the process of manifestation and liberation. That's what it is about. It's not some random symbol. Then we have, when we close the line, the element of air. The one on the bottom, the element of earth. What am I doing? I'm getting ahead of myself. So the Star of David, as the cross does in Christianity, because they stole it and turned it into this whole crucifixion thing. And I'm not saying that stuff didn't happen. I'm saying it's a different version. We'll go into that another time. So the Star of David also is a very condensed version of the Tree of Life itself. So the process of manifestation, creation, spirit descending into matter. So you can see the horizontal line, that is the earth plane, and spirit descends, is channeled down, funneled down, distilled into the human form, and manifests on the plane, on the earth plane. But again, there's a lot of emphasis put on the power of manifestation. We all talk about it. I want to manifest things, whether it be money or success or some goodwill. Those are very important things. So manifestation is talked about a lot among people that call themselves spiritual, but not very much to talk about liberation. I can't separate the two because, again, I'm already manifested. I'm already here. I don't need to perfect that. I'm pretty good at manifesting as it is. But what I want is to liberate. Alternating current, AC, DC, alternating current, direct current, ascending and descending current. Let's not lose sight of the two of them. One is for manifestation, one is for liberation. So I'm hammering this point home because it is such an essential feature to all mysticism. People, again, are so focused on manifesting things instead of liberating. Keep in mind that when you manifest things, that binds you to the material plane. Your possessions, your responsibilities, your obligations, these things bind you. Your karmas bind you to the material plane. We want to liberate from these things. So we want to explore and honor and put time into the other direction, up and out. This is what spirituality and mysticism is about. We can't responsibly discuss liberation without also discussing manifestation. But again, in this age of Kali Yuga, so much emphasis is put on the process of manifestation. And I'm hammering it home to help you be aware and hopefully motivate you and inspire you to put as much or more time and thought and heart into your path of liberation. This brings us to a much lesser known aspect of Kabbalah. Again, today is a bit of an overview, so it's going to be a lot of stuff kind of bullet pointed rather quick. More detail in the next one is coming up. Giving you a whole lot today in a short amount of time. So this is the lightning flash. Your more adept Kabbalists are aware of what the lightning flash is. They may be familiar with it. Many are not. This represents, again, the descending power, the God power, the process of creation, and how it goes to the bolt of energy to manifest. But let's, again, not forget that we have an upward current too. Very few or ever do you ever see a representation of the lightning flash in the other way. Now, I'm not an expert on weather anomalies, but I think I have to look this up. I don't know. But doesn't lightning go both ways? Isn't when a bolt of lightning goes, doesn't it also like receive? I think something like that. And so again, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna look it up and find that that's true. So let's roll with it anyway. So this is very representative. I just gave 3 or 4 workshops on Kundalini, and I'm not done with that by a stretch. This is a perfect representation of Kundalini. We're talking about the psycho-spiritual energy within, how it descends from the spiritual realm into form, into the human form, through this process of creation, and also through the liberating current, ascends up. So again, if we look at the tree of life as human form representative, arms on one side, I mean, it literally does represent, they call it Adam Kadmon, Adam being the first human being. Adam Kadmon is the perfected human being. That's the Kabbalistic term, Adam Kadmon. The tree of life represents that. Again, it is the process of manifestation and liberation. It also represents the human form because this is what the form takes. The lightning flash is representative of the Kundalini power, arousing it, activating it, transmitting it to go up. So once it's down, which it already is, we already have it down in our Muladhara chakra, to send it back up, out through the crown chakra, through Keter. So these are some of the elements. So it's a lot to take. Like I said, as I said, that a rich, deep, complicated system. I'm giving you a lot today, and I'll slow it down. We'll break things down. We'll learn how to use it as well. Today we're going to learn about what Kabbalah is rather than how to use it. It's irresponsible for someone to show you how to use it until they show you what it is. You can't just give a little piece to somebody and then show them how to use that piece because they're responsible. Again, in electricity is a good example. I was an instructor for many, many years, and I saw a guy get blown across a room when he touched the wrong wires. It scared the hell out of me. A little information can be a very, very dangerous thing. It's irresponsible to learn these paths, and grossly irresponsible to teach these paths without doing it properly. Which is why, after again a lifetime of study of mystical paths and modalities and religions, consuming massive amounts of materials over the years throughout my life, I was always rather frustrated. And again, the intellectual level that was required to do some of these things. And I was with gifted intellect as a child, so I'm very fortunate. Many people aren't. And I felt that it was offensive, that many of these things were presented in ways that were just inaccessible to somebody that didn't have an advanced intellect. That there was a way of keeping things out. That's how religions do things. Religions guard things and they make them unavailable till Martin Luther comes along and publishes the whole thing, exposes the truth. And so that's, in a similar way, my own motivation is that I saw the beauty and the gorgeousness of ceremonial magic and Kabbalah and alchemy, just so beautiful, and witchcraft, so beautiful and so intellectual, because the people that were practicing it and producing the materials on it were not making it accessible to common people. They were keeping it filled with advanced terms and notions and concepts that your average person could not possibly fathom. And I thought that was very smacked of the organized religious kind of attitude, to keep people stupid, keep people out. Our greatest spiritual leaders, our gurus, our saints, our masters, they didn't do that. Jesus, the guru, came and made it very easy to understand these complex systems and taught you very easy paths, as all gurus do. So, and I'm not one. I gave you some of my credentials. I'm not a guru. I'm not a master. I'm not a saint. I'm not enlightened. I'm aspiring to be. I'm an initiate. I'm an adept, but I'm not one of those. But I was motivated from early on to present these information, this information and knowledge. Same thing with my behavioral work, as a specialist in addiction, anxiety, and depression. The doctors make this thing so complicated that they want to medicate everybody and make bank off of them. And I have the opposite attitude. My whole thing is I want to make it accessible to everyone so they can heal themselves, to liberate yourself, to be able to access this knowledge and information so that you can do this. That's what spirituality, true spirituality, and mysticism is about, to self-empower. Eventually, at some point in your process and path, you do indeed need a master, saint, guru to enlighten you, to Shaktipat, to finish it. But all they do until that moment is teach you how to do it yourself. They empower you with the knowledge and the practices and abilities. So after, again, as complex and rich and deep and layered as Kabbalah is and can be, I created my own, the Kabbalah workbook. That's on my website. So there's a little bit of self-promotion there, a little bit of selling. 55 pages and 2 pullouts. Very interactive, usable workbook. When I see 2 pullouts, is when you buy the printed version, which now you can get them online. When you buy the printed version, it came with a 2-sided pullout sheet that was laminated so that you could look at it while you're reading through the text. I was always frustrated by the fact that I always had to go back and forth to indexes and all this stuff when I was reading all these books. I couldn't keep up, And so the pullouts are so that you can see what's being referred to as you're reading and studying it. So you can put it to practice. So you have to flip back and forth. But as it's telling you what to do and how to use it, you can see images of what that is, what it means as it's being described. So this is an option. You can even see in this image the 3 pillars, the 10 Sephiroth. We need a guide. As I said before, Kabbalah is a roadmap. Where was that? I said that, right? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Represents process, manifestation, liberation. It is the roadmap, the blueprint, the template, the user's guide. I kind of flashed by this. This is very important. What is the tree of life? Represents the process of manifestation of souls and other things, and represents the process of liberation of souls and other things. It is the roadmap. It is the blueprint. It is the template. It is the user's guide. This system represents everything you need to know to become spiritual. I don't mean spiritual minded. I mean spiritized. I mean to become a divine essence yourself, to become one with. Depending on which path you're pursuing, yes, there's potential for becoming deity, God, a God, not the God. There's lots of different outcomes for you to choose when you're involved in mystical paths and mystical modalities. So what is the tree of life? Again, it is the roadmap. It is a template, a user's guide to show you, very much like an instruction book. Step 1, step 2. There are 10 of them here with the Sephiroth. And the tarot and all these things represent these things. So why does it seem so cryptic and mystical and so ethereal? Well, because we're talking about cryptic and mystical things. It's not as simple as putting together the cabinets in your kitchen from IKEA. I don't know where that came from. They don't even make couch cabinets, do they? But you follow me. So we do need a user's guide to be able to manifest and liberate. And this is what Kabbalah does, provides us with the roadmap. And again, it's in images. And it's in these codes, codified terms because we're talking about an unworldly, non-worldly, beyond worldly set of circumstances, features, and events. So you can't use worldly examples and labels to describe them. The best you can do in spiritual context is say, well, it's like this, like that. You can use metaphors. This is what Kabbalah is. It is a system of metaphors. Again, with the tarot, what represents these concepts of our user's guide to become spiritual beings, not just human beings, but spiritual beings. Not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience. Teilhard de Chardin. Let's go back where we were. Where were we? Okay, so the workbook. Now, again, as I shared in the beginning about my credentials, what qualifies me, honestly, it's not an ego trip. It's because I want you to have confidence that what you're getting is authentic and good stuff. Same with the workbook. As I tell you about this, I want you to know what's available to you. So it's not just a selling point. Yes, of course, I encourage you to buy it. It's like $20, I think. Again, it took me years. I was going to bring in Israel Regardi's book, Garden of Pomegranates. It's this big. It's this thick. It's probably the best book on Kabbalah that's ever been written. But again, it's very challenging. Very challenging to consume. What I'm offering in this presentation, in this workbook, is all that knowledge, all the other knowledge of practicing Kabbalah and tarot and studying it for most of my life, distilling it down to an accessible 55 pages. Yes, it can be done. That's manifestation, right? So here's what's in here. And this is, again, not a selling point. This is because I'm telling you what Kabbalah is. The origins of it. Reading the map. How to read it. You got to have like a key, right? When you're going somewhere and you read a map, remember we used to have like printout maps. The Hebrew alphabet. That is kind of the key guide. Gematria, Notarikon, and Tamura. These are three elements that are used for different reasons in Kabbalah. This book teaches you not only what they are, but how to use them in a couple pages. It gives you examples. They're really fun. Tarikon having to do with numbers and numerology and your name. Same with Tamura and Gematria. It's about how to predict. And same with all my spiritual triangle readings and insights that I provide to people. It's not about prediction. When we understand some of these elements, we start to understand how to use them. What does it mean to us? How can we exploit these things for our growth? You're different than I am. I'm different than you are. What works for me may not work for you and vice versa. We have to find the right paths that suit our personality that we were given in this lifetime. We're given a set of circumstances and features in this lifetime that we got to work with. I was given a pretty advanced intellect. I was also given an insatiable will. It has its downsides. I mean, I can really annoy people with how much I know and my force of will. So we have to be aware of these features so we can work with what we've got. It teaches about the Tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He. God is a four-letter word. There's the symbol of the Tetragrammaton. The tree of life, climbing the tree, how to climb the tree. Again, having this knowledge is useless if we don't know how to apply it. Application is vital. Knowledge is power, but it's useless. As we saw in the tree, understanding and wisdom. Understanding without wisdom is useless. Wisdom without understanding, useless. And in between those two Sephiroth was Doth, the ghost Sephiroth, that blends the two together. Right here. So climbing the tree, again, is how to apply it. It's not just abstract knowledge, but how to use it in our everyday lives and how to continue the path. The 10 Sephiroth and the 22 paths, explore and explain with images. It's summarized, sure. Again, I took Israel Regardie's book, Garden of Pomegranates, and I've made a 55-page booklet. But I think you'd be impressed on how thorough this thing is. Covers everything his does. He covers a lot more and a lot more in depth, obviously, being the brilliant man that he was. But who's got time for this? Everything that's in there. My skill set has been that I've always been able to take very high intellectual concepts and distill them into very accessible concepts. And that's what I'm doing with this workbook. What we plan to do in this workshop is we explore what's in the contents of it. The whole tree and nothing but the tree. The veil, the abyss, the triple veil. Again, advanced concepts that many Kabbalists don't even go into. Very important, very wonderful. The veil, meaning the veil of illusion, that we're all under the bondage of Maya, the material phenomena. The abyss, which is the middle zone in between, which is where you begin to start to transcend. And then the triple veil. Ein Sof, and Ein Sof hour. This describes not only what it is, where they are, what they look like, and how to use them, what they represent. The four worlds and bodies. Bad choice of selection of type here. Atziluth, the world of emanation. Bria, the world of creation. Yetzirah, the world of form, and Asaya, the world of action. Again, to understand existence itself, the different levels, dimensions, you could say, that we're experiencing every day around us, every moment. Every moment, we're all experiencing multiple dimensions. Even quantum physics is now revealing that we live in not a four-dimensional world, three spatial one time, but 11. What are the other? I suck at math. 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. What are the other 7? What are the other 7? Yeah, this big academic, this big intellect. I can't do basic. I never could do basic math. I can understand quantum theory, just can't do the math. So what are these other dimensions? Physicists will tell you, we don't know. We can't know. They're there. They're coiled up, curled up real tight, and they're right here in front of us all the time, everywhere we go. We're swimming in it, but we can't perceive them. Partly because they're coiled up. We don't have the perception, so we don't know what they are. We know 4. 3 spatial, forward, back, up, down, side to side, and 1 time. And that's it. And what time do we know? Present. Well, there's more of those. There's past, present, and future. We don't experience those all at the same time. We experience all 3 spatial dimensions at once. Time dimension, we experience once, one at a time. But there are others. So the 4 worlds and bodies and the whole tree, the veil, the abyss, and the triple veil, are explorations into these dimensions of reality. So that because, again, knowledge is power, but only when you know how to use it. Because the more you are aware of what you're existing in, what you're swimming in right now, this ocean of Maya, material phenomena, the more you can use it. Naomi and I were just having a conversation about supernatural features of life. That it's happening to everyone all the time. It seems that it happens more to people than it happens to others. And I was sharing with her that it's happening to everyone all the time. The difference is some people have their eyes open and can see it. I've been intrigued, curious, and motivated, interacting with my supernatural phenomena since I was a child. So it's not that I get more. Eventually you do, because you interact with it, but also because I was paying attention to it. And the more you pay attention to it, the more you interact with it, the more it interacts with you. So all we have to do is, when we become aware of these dimensions, is interact with them, build a relationship with them, participate with them. They'll have fun with you when you have fun with them. When you honor and appreciate them, they have fun with you. Trust me, they have a lot of fun with me. A little bit too much sometimes. I've had a supernatural life, to say the least. The whole death thing, the Kundalini thing, it's been hard, much of it. Be careful what you wish for. So the more we are aware to the process with Kabbalah and the 10 Sephiroth, climbing the tree and the whole tree and the 4 worlds and bodies, the more awareness we have of these things, the more we can get out of it by simply every moment becoming more and more aware of it. In a similar way, when you're walking down the road or you're on a beach somewhere and you see a beautiful sunset and you take a moment and you acknowledge that. How can you not? How can you refuse? And so even the atheist is sitting there looking at the miracle. Well, I'm sorry, but they have to turn in their atheist card because you can't appreciate the miracle of sunrise or sunset if you're an atheist. For you, it's just a scientific phenomenon. It ain't nothing. The moment you acknowledge that it's beautiful or special, well, then you're not an atheist anymore. And so as we learn what Kabbalah partly exists for, it's to simply expose us to the breadth, the depth, the dimensions of reality, of existence, of the material and the spiritual phenomena, so that we can build a closer relationship with it and interact with it. And the more we interact with it, the more it interacts with us. So in this book and during these workshops, there's all these sections. As I said, it's a very deep and rich, complex process of modality, but it's beautiful. It explains the three pillars: severity, mercy, and mildness. You saw on the tree, there was the two sides and the one down the middle. The pillar of severity, pillar of mercy, pillar of mildness. In my room, 2 doors down here, down the hall, in my bedroom, for probably 25 years, I've had 2 very large pillars in my room. One painted black, one painted white. One is a pillar of severity, one represents a pillar of mercy. They're huge. They're actually styrofoam, but they look like they're made of marble. And I've had them there for 25 years because I always want to be mindful, always reminded that I live in a process of polarities and dualities. And never forget that I have a dark side as well as a light side. That I have a good side as well as a dark side. I never want to forget, because in my youth, I was ignorant to this. And when we're ignorant to it, then we just act whatever. When we become aware of it, and we start to understand the pillars that are within us, of severity, mercy, and mildness, as the Buddha taught the middle way. We begin to again live our lives under these precepts. And then, of course, the book will also explain in detail about the lightning flash. In some ways, you could say that in many ways, all you need is the lightning flash. You can do away with all this other stuff. In a similar way with my spiritual path of bhakti, which is devotion, I do away with all of the processes and practices and just surrender. In many ways, with Kabbalah, all you need to know and master is the lightning flash, and you're there. You got that, and you're done. You make Kundalini happen, and you're pretty much done. But there is a final stage beyond that, which we're not going to go into today. So it also teaches you how to build your own tree fort. We're climbing the tree. We're climbing up and down the tree. Understand the process of liberation and manifestation. So build our own tree fort. Again, how to apply it, how to use this knowledge in practical ways in our everyday life. Let's not make the mistake of misinterpreting this, that Kabbalah and other mystical paths are there to make our material lives better. They will make your material life better, but that's coincidental, circumstantial. That's not their objective. Their point is to make you a spiritual human being, to become completely spiritized, to transcend the material phenomena and live and exist, not just aware of, but to become spiritized. And so building your own tree fort, how to apply this knowledge, is how to practice it. One of my favorite sayings in what you know as Hinduism: in the beginning, you do your sadhana. Sadhana means practice. In the end, sadhana is all you do. I like to think that I'm close to a level now where sadhana is all I do. So when we talk about building your own tree fort and using Kabbalah and other mystical modalities and applying them, it's exactly that In the beginning, you do your sadhana. You make time and effort to put your practice in, like exercise. But in the end, sadhana is all you do. In the beginning, I took time to schedule all my meditations and my bhakti and my devotions and my kirtan chantings and singing and my concentrations and my heartfelt surrender to my guru and master. And in the end, in many ways, unless I'm distracted, like I will be watching French Open tennis later, then that's all I do. Because there's a part of me that's always mindful of what I'm doing. I'm not just eating my breakfast. I'm fortifying my body, building strength and health so that I can be available spiritually. Because if I am hungry, weak, injured, tired, infirm, compromised, well, then I'm not available spiritually. Spiritual is always available to me, but I'm not available to access it. So building your own tree fort is about how to live within that, not as a feature of your life. That's when you, in the beginning, you do your sadhana. But to make so sadhana is all you do, so that everything you're doing, every moment of every day, is involved with your spiritual evolution and growth. You begin to see life under the lens of these terms with Kabbalah. It covers everything. Every feature of existence in our lives, the material, the spiritual, the family, the work, health, fitness, all these kind of things. Because that's part of the tapestry of our existence. But it's about the ability to view these under the lens of a spiritual context, which is what mysticism and spirituality is truly about, to be able to and to be focused on, to master. At every moment of your life, be able to view it under the spiritual lens instead of the material lens. This is partly what Spiritual Triangle does. The readings that I provide, Spiritual Triangle, incorporate all this. We've got numerology, we've got tarot, we've got astrology. We've also got, and I'm the innovator of this, I weaved in the I Ching, the 56 hexagrams of the I Ching, 64, and KABBALAH Tree of Life. So every correspondence that you get numerologically corresponds to a sephiroth on the tree or path. It's not enough just to get predictions, but how to use them. Let's put them to use. How can we put this to use? Now, today, again, we are summarizing, going over what Kabbalah is, what it consists of, how it's built. And let me review just real quick. I usually have like a review part, but I don't have that right now. So let me run back. Of what it is. And what it is explains and represents the process of manifestation and liberation, of becoming material, taking life, the soul condensing into matter and becoming a human form, and also the process of liberation. Now, it's easy to say, well, then when we die, the soul is liberated from the body. It is temporarily, but then you reincarnate. Take it from me, a guy that's reincarnated in this lifetime through his death experience. I'm very aware of the process of the soul leaving the body and re-entering. So when we understand this and retain it and make it part of our knowledge, is when we begin to view our life every day and every moment through the spiritual lens and context. Not human beings having a spiritual experience, but a spiritual being having a human experience. View it through that lens. So this is what Kabbalah is and what it represents. The pictures, the images, the concepts, the paths, the sephiroth, the tarot. They distill these very complicated spiritual concepts to manners that we can process them, because we're just stupid humans. The professor at the college needs to be able to condense and distill all that knowledge of quantum physics or art or whatever they're teaching into ways that dummy students can understand it. This is what Kabbalah does. Kabbalah takes these concepts that are well beyond us, divine concepts, process of creation and liberation, and distills them and puts them in concepts and processes that we can start to grasp and understand. Very abstract and ethereal at first, for sure. But over time, as you become more familiar with it, bottom line is, I'm something of an expert now, you could say. I look at the tarot cards. I know what they mean. I know what they represent. I know what the symbols mean. I don't have to read the book so much anymore. I like to refer to them, but I don't need them because I understand what the images mean, every feature of them. And I'm blown away as I see the Tower card with the yods coming down from the tower, which is a very dark card, and being able to appreciate what these things symbolize without even having to look it up. Again, being able to see your life in spiritual context. So what we will do in the very near future, get through this again, is now that you've given an overview of what Kabbalah is, what it consists of, mechanically, you could say, we will. I'm going to do it simultaneously. Okay, so it's about how to put to use. Yes, meditation, all these kind of things are a feature of it. Meditation and contemplation, and about studying, but also again on how to put the context or put your features of your life, your personality, your life's events and circumstances, where you live, how you live, who you are, how you're built. Some people are very emotional, some people are very intellectual. We're all different. We all have different assets. We all have different defects. We all have both. What Kabbalah and other forms of mysticism do is they teach you how to exploit your strengths and avoid and minimize your weaknesses, to use them properly so that you can transform and elevate from matter to spirit, to see everyday life, every moment under these concepts. I'll give you some examples again. Now, again, I only do this about every fifth or so presentation. This isn't just about helping you understand some of my so-called credentials. But I've got some pictures to back it up. I'm sharing with you a theme here. The work that needs to be put in. We can't just read a book. We've got to practice things. So here I am, years ago, Ordo Templi Orientis, as I was an initiate as a ceremonial magician, became a 3rd degree, and became a master alchemist. Studied with Flamel College and through Dennis Hawk himself. And it's not as though I found out one was garbage and moved on. Every mystical modality and method and spiritual path added another layer to where it is that I was going. And yet I always sensed its limitations, if it had them. And if a mystical path and a religion especially has a limitation, well, I'm seeking the one that has no limitation. That is the end all be all. Be all end all. And that's again where I found the path of Bhakti Yoga, devotion and surrender. All of the paths and all the use, and again, being able to see and view things into the spiritual lens and context, again, puts you into a state of consciousness. I may look like I'm just a guy standing in line at the grocery store or whatever else, and at times I am, but at the same time, I got a lot of crap going on up here. I'm seeing things. I don't mean seeing things. I mean, maybe sometimes. I mean, I did a lot of acid in my youth, so. I'm seeing things that many people are not perceiving that are right there in front of them as well. Viewing the experience of just getting the groceries and the spiritual lens, those contexts, through this work of these initiative work, the initiatory works, as an initiate, as an adept. It can be risky to become knowledgeable in multiple paths of mysticism and religion and spirituality, because they can definitely contradict each other. Mysticism, what I see is I see what they have in common, not what they have in separation and differences. They're all talking about the same thing. Different language, different symbols, different perceptions, but they're all talking about the same thing, which is the liberation of the soul and the mind from the material phenomena, process of liberation. So every one of these paths, modalities that I've been involved with over my lifetime have added layers to that. And I felt that eventually I was a graduate. And eventually, as the knowledge comes your way, there are always beings on this planet. The Buddhas, the Gautams, the Rasiks, saints, they're always here. Very few during this age of Kali Yuga, but they're always here. And when we're ready, we will find them, or you could say they will find us. We will meet a spiritized being, someone that is not part of the material phenomena at all. They may look like it. They may seem like it to us because we have materialized, we see things in a material context. So the only way that they can make themselves known to us is by taking on a human form. Some of them, very few, but there are always beings on this planet that are not part of the material phenomena. They're part of the divine phenomena. I'm sharing with you mine. And when I mean mine, I don't mean he's just mine, although I am just his. Anyone that becomes a devotee to a saint, like the Buddha, like the Christ, feels that they're the only one that belongs to them. We're intellectually aware that I am just one of many children to this divine personality, one of many disciples, devotees, you could say, to this personality, but there's only one of them to me. When we build that exclusive relationship, this is what these mystical paths are doing, is to prepare you to expand your consciousness to a point of being able to refine it to a single point. Malkut, Keter. To associate with the divine realm in all its glory, right here on the planet. Many gurus throughout history, and some of them are on the earth right now, radiating their own peace and divinity and glory to balance out the toxicity of this planet. Some of them are hidden in caves, simply there to help balance it out. Many of them work with the public and get involved with humanity and teach. This is one of them. So those are some of the presentations, some of those qualifications. I mentioned a while ago that when the next one on Kabbalah, we're going to go into a little more of the details of the features, gematria, notarikon, etc. I encourage you to look into Bhakti Yoga, Jagadguru Kripalu Maharaj. Google his name, he'll come up, trust me. And so we have at Spiritual Triangle website, spiritualtriangle.com, readings, live sessions, mystical gangster training, workbooks. The Kabbalah workbook is there. I think it's $22. It might be $9. I don't really remember. It's a very complete workbook that gives you a lot for very, very little. live sessions and training, to be able to have a teacher interact with you. And again, I'm not a saint. I'm not an enlightened personality. The difference is that I tell you up front that I'm not. I'm not trying to profess to be something that I'm not. So many of the guides, teachers, etc., that are out there representing themselves as something that they're clearly not. I figure I'm a smart guy. That's what I am. And I got a lot of knowledge and information that I've acquired over my lifetime that I love to share. And I pride myself on being required to present it authentically and correctly and responsibly. The real thing and nothing less. So part 2, we're going to go a little bit more in detail about gematria, notarikon, and temera. Those are the 3 kind of like schools of thought that you can use to like predict and plan out your Kabbalah. It's profound. These are like formulas that you can use like for your name, for your mystical name, your magical name, for your own name, and develop them. So you can get tremendous insights into your particular spirit, your manifestation, your own process. And we're going to go over climbing the tree. We're going to go over the 10 Sephiroth, each one by one. We're going to do a brief summary on those. We're going to visit them and tour them. We're going to tour the tree, the 22 paths with the 22 major arcana and all the tarot suits in the minor arcana. We're going to go over the whole tree, the veil, the abyss, and triple veil. 3 pillars of severity, mercy, and mildness. We're going to go over the lightning flash in detail. That one's going to be fun because, the Kundalini thing is a very close thing in my heart. And building your own tree for it, how to use it. So we're going to be able to go a little more in detail the things are referred to in this outline today. I think that'll do it. We've all got short attention spans these days, so that's just over an hour. Let's leave it there. And any questions? There was. Thank you for interesting. Well, thank you, Dottie. Thank you for saying such a nice thing. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please go to the website, spiritualtriangle.com, and you can email me there. You can email me at krishnanand@spiritualtriangle.com and ask me any questions you want. I'm an open book. I'm eager and anxious and always ready to share knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Be well, and Radhe Radhe. All right. See you next time.